So we are at Camas Meadow. We're looking at a little small part of it. The larger part of Camas Meadow, which we'll go to in just a few minutes, is over this way and over that way. And this is up in the Eldorado Forest, and it's easily accessible from Wright's Lake Road, and then make a left on the road that goes to Ice House Reservoir, and then make a right on, let's see, it was 1137 F, which is a dirt road, a dirt gravel road. Follow it down about a mile, and there's a pullout, and then you walk through a little bit of forest on your right, so toward the east, to find the meadow. And already we have found an orchid. So over there in the distance you can see some blue flowers. We've got one right close here. Just gorgeous. Here we are. So this is Camas. I think sometimes people call it blue Camas because of the blue flowers, kind of blue-purple. And this is Camassia quamash. Really lovely. And we'll see more of that in the main part of the meadow. Also in this little section, we've got a we've got a bistort. These little white little things that you're seeing here are the inflorescences with tiny, tiny little flowers of bistort. This one's got a little hoverfly. We think it's collecting pollen right here. Yeah, that's better. And so this is called bistort as its common name. It's a member of the Pollinators, so the knotweed family or buckwheat family. And this used to be Polyngium bistortoides, but now it's got its own genus. It is now Bistorta bistortoides. A little bit redundant, but whatever. And so we'll be finding some more lovely things here. So in a little bit of a higher spot in the meadow, in this little section of the meadow, right next to this really lovely, well, kind of senescing lodgepole pine, we've got Labrador tea. And this is really neat because this is a member of the Ericaceae, the Heath family. And this little area, this little meadow and the area surrounding is a great place for the Heath family. There are several species belonging to that family that are here. Anyway, this is Labrador tea, or actually Western Labrador tea. It used to be called Ledum glandulosum, but now it's actually considered a rhododendron. So apparently it's been decided that there's not that much difference between this plant and other rhododendrons, so it has been actually included in the rhododendrons. So this is now Rhododendron columbianum. And of course, the difference that it has with the other rhododendrons is that the flowers are much smaller. They come in a tighter group, and they're white. The leaves are similar to rhododendron leaves that you think of, like Western rhododendron, or azalea, which is also in the genus Rhododendron, but they're smaller. The leaves are smaller. One interesting thing that we noticed is that we have the remains of last year's flowers and fruits. They left behind the sepals after actually the rest of the fruit, the capsule. It opened up, but there were even some remains of the stamens that we noticed as well. And this is a lovely shrub and surrounding surrounding the lodgepole pine. But it tends to be on the edge of wet places. Like it might be on the edge of a stream or the edge of a wet meadow. So it does like wet, but it doesn't like its feet to be actually, in saturated soil. So, still in this little section of the meadow, we've got another beautiful plant, of course. This is marsh marigold, and actually a member of the buttercup family. This is Calfa. And another white-flowered plant is this little violet, this tiny little violet. This is McCloskey's violet, or Viola McCloskeyii. So you see this in wet places up high in the mountains. So it likes a wet meadow, or a bog, or a fen. But it likes this wet, spongy ground. And you often find it together, maybe with tinker's penning, and I'm hoping that we see that soon. And here is the tiny little, just adorable tinker's penny. Isn't that a wonderful name? It's a hypericum, Hypericum anagaloides, so it's a relative of St. John's wort or Klamath weed, but this is a nice native. There are a number of nice native members of the genus Hypericum in California. Another one that grows down in the foothills is called goldwire. Has a bigger flower. But this one has the tiniest flower of all of the Hypericums. And here we have the primrose monkey flower. It grows in these boggy places too, these wet meadows where the ground is soft and mushy. And it has a really long pedicel and then a basal leaves with these cool little hairs that gather up little droplets of water, and so they will shine often. It's really, really pretty. Now, I cannot remember whether this is an erythranthe or a Diplacus primuloides, so I'll have you look that up. It used to be Mimulus primuloides, but now I think it's erythranthe. But you look that up and satisfy that for yourself. Okay. Well, here we have something that is going to sound familiar, but you're going to think it has the wrong color flower. This is a yellow-eyed grass, which is related to blue-eyed grass in the same genus. This is Sisyrinchium elmeri. So I'm going to call it Elmer's yellow-eyed grass. And we find it in boggy places up here in the mountains, wet meadows. And it is a member of the iris family, the Ericaceae. And you can tell that by looking at the leaves. And these are very iris-like leaves. Iris-like leaves, the equitant kind of leaves that are folded and sheathing the stem. Beautiful little flowers. Isn't that gorgeous? And there are other yellow flowers here too. Yeah, let me walk over here to see them. And when we saw the yellow-eyed grass, we were just not really looking very closely because we were thinking maybe it was just some more of this right here. And you're going to say, well, that looks like a dandelion. Yeah, this is called mock dandelion, Bollander's mock dandelion. And it has a very funny genus name. It's Phylacroceras bollanderi, or Bollander's mock dandelion. So unlike true dandelion, this is a native. This is a native species, and it's quite lovely, and we find it in these lovely boggy wet meadows. And you can see that there are more here. Here's one with a critter, whoop, just taking off. And over here, we have more of the bog orchid. This spot is just amazing for the bog orchid. So if you're wanting for more orchids, this is a place to come. Here we have mountain heather, another member of the Heath family, the Ericaceae. And this one too is growing kind of in the edge, kind of in the same kind of habitat or spot that we saw the Labrador tea. There is a nice patch of it, and there is another lodgepole pine. So I guess, likes lodgepole pine. Now the Ericaceae is a really special family, mostly because of the incredible diversity of different kinds of plants, because you have everything from parasitic plants that don't have any chlorophyll at all, and you have rhododendrons, and you have manzanita and madrone. I mean, just incredible diversity. But one thing that many ericaceous plants have is special relationships with fungi in the soil. The mycorrhizae, which means fungus root or fungus roots. And so that increases the absorptive area for getting nutrients out of the soil, so they can grow in really nutrient poor soil. So that is their secret to being able to grow in places where a number of other plants can't grow. Oh, and here's some more of the ledum too, right here. It's not blooming right at the moment, but in the same kind of habitat. Lovely plant. Now this is a really special member of the saxifrage family, the Saxifragaceae. This is brewer's mitrewort, Mitella breweri. It has these really unusual petals. You can see that they have deeply lobed. Isn't that special? But it does have basal leaves that are very saxifrageous, if you will. They are palmately lobed and also toothed, and at the base, that's really common in the saxifrage family. I'll try to get that in focus again. There we go. So here we are in the main part of Camas Meadow, and the camas, there's a lot of it still blooming. So that is the camas, the Camassia there, and then also more of the bistort. And the meadow is ringed with your typical upper montane forest trees. So lots of red fir and lodgepole pine. And the lodgepole pines are creeping in on the edge of the meadow. That's actually part of the normal succession of a mountain meadow. As it gets drier, as the vegetation kind of accumulates and gets deeper, then the upper layers of the soil can get drier. And with climate change, that probably will accelerate. Anyway, so there's some more of the camas. And then this bush right over here, this nice short bush, you wouldn't think so, but this is a willow. So this is Salix orestra, and the common name for it is eluding me. But we could call it meadow. Meadow willow if we want. It has these really soft hairs that are light colored that make the leaves a beautiful grayish color. We found the common name. The common name is Sierra willow. When in doubt.
Look it up.
There we go. And then across the way, Gail has reminded me that we have some corn lily, very much like we saw at Pai Pai in that meadow. So Veratrum californicum, or corn lily, and it is just in bloom. There, I think that's a little bit better in focus of the long-stalked clover. There we go. So here is the corn lily and the flowers close up, Veratrum californicum. It attracts a lot of different pollinators. There's an ant on it right there. And here comes a bee buzzing me. Lots of ants on this one. Gorgeous little white flowers. And this is probably one of the more common plants you'll see in mountain wet meadows. Toxic, don't eat it. Here is a cinquefoil that you might not expect to be in a wet meadow, but this one is Mount Rainier cinquefoil. So its old name is Potentilla flabellifolia. So I'm not sure what its current name is. It may be a Drymicalis. But it's quite lovely. For us, it was kind of masquerading as a buttercup until I took a closer look and saw that the petals were notched and not shiny. Here we have Fendler's meadow rue. This is Thalictrum fendleri, and this is an interesting plant because an individual plant will either be female, like this one, and have pistils and eventually produce seed, or it will be male and have anthers and stamens with anthers. And it's really interesting. I like the male plants actually because the anthers are really dangly. They're long and dangly, so it's really kind of cute. But this is a common meadow, and also you'll see this in the understory of the forest. Really cute little plant. So here in the middle of the meadow, there's kind of a more open, muddy spot. And we've got the butterflies here that are after, I guess, minerals. There's some blues, and here are some checker spots. It's really beautiful. So here's this gorgeous spot across the meadow from where we started. And we have some more orchids here. This is a relative of the bog orchid that we saw on the other side in that little shady bog. This is Plantanthera leucostachys, or Sierra rain orchid. So we've got that, which is, the flowers are more white instead of green, and you have a more dense inflorescence and a taller plant overall. You also have some more of the Camas, and the red there in the back, that is a paintbrush. This is Castanea miniata, which you often find in wet places, like it could be along a stream, or like even where you have just, water dripping off a rock. Sometimes you find these at the bottom of the rock there, or in a wet meadow like this. We also have a butterweed, Senecio triangularis, which is often found in wet places, like in wet meadows, or again along streams. More of the Camas, this beautiful Camas, and also some more of the veratrum, the corn lily. This is just quite a gorgeous, gorgeous spot right here, and more of the bistort, which has that little inflorescence that looks like a little white ball with little white flowers. Just a gorgeous spot. So here, at the edge of the meadow on the far side from where we started, is monkshood. This is Aconitum columbianum, and this is the only member of the genus, the only species that we have in North America, actually. It's a relative of larkspur, and like larkspur, it is poisonous. Do not eat it. But it is beautiful, and it attracts lovely pollinators. Here we have a non-native plant that is not terribly invasive, so we don't really need to worry about it very much. This is sheep sorrel, but it actually is a dock, rumex. So this is Rumex acetosella. And it's easy to tell because it's a pretty small plant, and it has these lovely sagittate leaves. See down at the bottom of the leaf, you can see these two little wings. So more like an arrow, like an arrowhead. So these are the flowers of it over here. They're not much to see. They're very tiny. And people do eat the leaves. You can eat the greens. We have mountain bluebells. This is in the forest at the edge of the meadow, so it's not in the meadow proper. But this is Mertensia ciliata, or mountain bluebells. And you can see why it's called mountain bluebells. It's a member of the borage family, the Boraginaceae. Wants to move. It's really tall, but it has these drooping flowers, which in the bud are often pink. And then it has these leaves that do have petioles on the lower part of the stem, but at the upper part of the stem, they are sessile. Here we have Calochortus, and this is probably Calochortus minimus or nudus, but at any rate, a small little, pretty much hairless, in other words, the petals don't have any hairs, a mountain Mariposa lily, if you will. Really pretty. The leaf right next to it here actually is the leaf of a wild strawberry. The flower of the wild strawberry is right there. Frigeria fresca? Vesca, I'm sorry. Frigeria vesca. And here's another one of the lovely Calochortus. Here is a shooting star on our way out. We're back on the side of the meadow that we started on. And so this is Dodecatheon Jeffreyi, or Jeffrey's shooting star. However, in the most recent taxonomy, the shooting stars have been moved into the genus Primula with other primroses. Go figure. I myself like the genus name Dodecatheon. It's very lovely to say.